Call the meeting of the 29th Homes Water District Board of Directors, October 22nd, 2025, 4 p.m. Call the meeting to order. Please make sure that all your cell phones are turned off so we don't interrupt today's proceedings. Roll call, Cindy?
Director Arthur is absent. Director Bowden?
He's here.
Oh, he is?
Yes. He is.
Okay. Director Bowden, are you here?
Present.
Director Coghill?
Here.
Director Leeser?
Here.
Director Woods?
Here.
Okay. Larry, you may stay seated if you like, but Matt, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance to the flag of our country?
Don't push too far, don't step back.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, Cindy, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay. Public comments. Please complete a request to be heard form prior to the start of the meeting. The public may address the board for 3 minutes on district-related matters. Government code prohibits the board from taking action on matters that are not on the agenda. However, the board may refer matters for future consideration. Are there any public comments?
There are none.
Thank you. Agenda item 1, consideration of resolution 25-11 designating the general manager as authorized representative to apply for state water resource control board planning application for funding for the well 11B drinking water treatment project. General manager.
Good afternoon, Board President and members of the board. Today before you is Resolution 2511, designating the general manager as the authorization of the district to represent for applications and apply for the State Water Resources Control Board planning grant. This grant application would allow the district the opportunity to help the Kennedy Jenks and Corona environmental desktop study. It would also get us to the next stage of column testing for specific treatment processes. And it would also allow the CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act requirements, and planning and engineering services to construct well 11B. Today is open conversation, but staff is going to make the recommendation to approve resolution 2511 today. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
So, do we, excuse me,
Go ahead and answer.
do we, is this something we have to do every time we have a project? It is, we don't do this and then you got this control, or?
No, it's project driven, so this is for well 11B and it's for Chrome 6 treatment. You guys did approve an $87,000 desktop study that we're in the middle of. That will probably come to the board next month, just with the findings from the desktop study. Next is column testing to prove how you're going to do treatment. So I would like the state to start helping us fund these kind of projects, especially if Chrome 6 compliance is part of the factor. So Chrome 6 compliance is where we're at next too. And the desktop study that we approved could get back paid through the Chrome 6 compliance stuff. So this was an application I felt we needed to do.
Director Woods?
I'm fine.
Director Leeser?
No, I think it's a great idea. We can fund back what we already invested with, I'm all for it. But my concern is when we start taking money from the state, how much more obligation do we get for compliance with state issues?
That's a great question. But at this point, because Chrome 6 compliance is coming out to the districts that have Chrome 6 in their wells, I just felt like it was an opportunity. It's definitely something I can dive into. I don't have a great answer for that.
Yeah, I'm for it. I'm just worried about what additional requirements comes with state funding and grant monies.
You won't be above it if you don't get state funding.
Yeah,
And this would also allow us to make the determination if the treatment study comes back in a negative context, do we just abandon that project all?
So, well 11B right now produces 400 GPM. If we come back through the desktop study and they show us 3 alternatives costing millions and millions of dollars, 400 GPM to this district is not going to be worth it. We would rather go drill a well in an area where we're not going to be up against Chrome 6 constituents. With that being said, yes, the project could be abandoned at a certain point, but us still getting paid back for some of the planning that we have done towards our Chrome 6 compliance plan. So
Certainly.
I think it's important to at least go after that 87,000 and the column testing that we could be doing next, that you guys would have to approve as well, because again, the full project isn't approved from the board yet.
So I believe we're all in agreement with it needs to move forward. We're just looking for a motion in a second.
Actually, I move to approve the resolution 25-11.
I'll second.
Cindy, can you roll call, please?
Director Arthur is absent. Director Bowden?
Aye.
Director Leeser?
Aye.
Director Woods?
Yes.
Director Coghill?
Yes. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, Director Arthur did call in, so it is an excused absence. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. We learned that at Monterey when we all went to anyway. Agenda item number 2, formation of an ad hoc committee for shared services.
So- Today before you, the board is a discussion item for potential formation of this ad hoc committee for shared services. District staff is exploring the potential services with other local organizations. These shared services could potentially save the district money and gain services that we don't currently have. This ad hoc committee would take a look at services that the district also does have that we might be able to help out another district or organization. So before you today is an open discussion on formation of an ad hoc committee for shared services. I'd like to open it up for discussion.
Director Leeser, start on this end.
What do we think we can gain? What type of services are we talking from others?
One of the things we lack, just as an operation-based organization, is grant writing is not one of our strong points. So if there was an organization that we had shared services with that already had grant writing and we weren't paying somebody, 40 hours a week to do grant writing that we wouldn't do for 40 hours a week, there could be a shared cost there. One of the things that this district is really good at, and our GIS consultant is using us as kind of their child for the GIS, is our GIS program. So somebody that maybe not be doing GIS, we might be able to help with shared services as far as like what we're already doing and how we can explore sharing cost. So this is just, you got to think of the big picture when we say shared services. To me, this also indicates like with wastewater talks and the USGS study, could shared services also become part of wastewater or sewer talks with the city? Right now, the city isn't an organization that runs utility companies. We are a utility company. So this was just something that I felt like through talking through our legislative team, an ad hoc committee for shared services would be interesting. But Director Leeser, I agree with you. If it doesn't weigh out for us in this ad hoc committee, we can say we don't see the positives in it.
And who would some of our likely partners be, or interest parties?
Local water districts, the city of 29 Palms, Joshua Tree National Park, and their employees. I think it's just taking a better look at shared services that maybe we're not paying out, and we see bigger bills on grant writing, and then we don't see really how that's helping us. It's hard because when we look at let's just say an outline of services that could help us, you're right. We're trying to say what are the positives and what are the negatives, and we don't feel like there's as many positives. But it would be nice for 2 board members to also chime in. That's where I think having this ad hoc committee could really help us.
Director Woods?
So your vision of the composition of the ad hoc committee would be about 2 people, a 2 to 2, and would the composition of that ad hoc committee rotate or change depending on who the other agency is that you were looking at shared services with, or would it remain a stable ad hoc committee?
It would remain a stable ad hoc committee.
Director Bell? No question? Okay. Are we in agreement that we should take the recommendation for an ad hoc committee? And do we have volunteers for that ad hoc committee?
You said the USGS study? The city finally got that money, or is getting that money, so, and we're already kind of, would we have a separate ad hoc committee for that, since it's already been established, kind of? Or we make this one and it carries on for all of them until someone wants off, or?
I wouldn't consider the USGS a shared service. I think that's a report that's going to be done. We are putting in $200,000 into the USGS study. But it's definitely something that committee could look at and say, no, if we're going to take a dive into this report, this is definitely a shared service that the city and the district or something this committee would take a look at. So I would say, yes, this could also be used for the USGS, not necessarily creating its own ad hoc committee. But if you guys felt to directly dive into the USGS study, we could definitely form a second ad hoc committee just on USGS as well. Bring it back maybe as a future agenda item.
So, we've discussed septic management. Is that the right terminology? Septic management? plan?
Septic management is part of the program through the Salt Nutrient Management Program that the Regional Quality Control Board is looking at. And really the pressure is going to be on this city. We have done through the Salt Nutrient Management Plan all the deep water testing to prove that we do not have a nitrate issue with deep water. The Regional Quality Control Board for the Colorado region that we're dealing with on discharge permits is really not just concerned with deep water. They're also concerned with surface water. They're also concerned with lower aquifer. So when you say lower aquifer, that's where everybody's septic tanks are. So yes, this does have to do with the salt nutrient management and septic tank management systems that should be in place through the city, not necessarily the district.
I know, but it's, the water's the same that the city people drink, that the water district people drink.
Right.
The water is what I'm talking about. I understand that, but they can't run off and, I've talked to you about this before. We've seen a plan the county has that's pretty comprehensive. I mean, we could steal it like that, but I just want to be sure we're going to work together. And from what I'm hearing from you is a tone that is what's always been around. Hey, this is the city's fault and this is the city's job. And water's pretty important to us and them.
So the city having a new city manager, fairly new, there was a big meeting that we included Stone James, the city manager, on. They wanted to throw the city under the bus that the shallow water was not being tested. I said, that's not fair. This district also has concern that there is a conduit to the lower drinking water that we are just as concerned with. So we are taking an approach from the city and the water district as hey, we need to kind of come at this problem together. But at the end of the day, this water district is not the sewer purveyor.
Right.
The city is. So why this board is coming at us and saying the top water aquifer is very important is because we don't know what the conduit to the bottom water is. So I'm not trying to just say it's the city's problem because we only deal with drinking water. I'm trying to say, hey, let's be at the table and help them through this process of how we're going to monitor the top water. So those are great questions.
Well, I think the top water monitoring is the most important part of it all.
And if the top water monitoring comes back with nitrates, which it's going to,
It will.
there is a chance that the sewer talks will start a lot faster. And this USGS study is going to be kind of that dive into what's going on even in the top water. Now, as the water district, we believe that there's an unsaturated clay layer that you can't penetrate. This USGS study should show us that. If we have this unpenetratable clay layer in our soil that we're not allowing nitrates to get past to get into the drinking water, we hope this USGS study will bring that out, because that could help us in that barrier of what the conduit is between the two aquifers.
When do you anticipate the completion of the GIS survey?
5 years. It's a 5-year study through monitoring. It's been approved, and they have a signed agreement with USGS right now. Now, there is a shutdown going on right now, so USGS has walked away from the table a little bit as far as the opening discussions, but the agreement was signed last week, actually.
It'll come back to fruition.
But the 5 years from the point of the first drill, right?
Well, and it's not necessarily
Or the
drill, so
first-
there's an outline of...
The first action by the
Yeah, first
GIS.
action, there's a 5-year completion
Okay.
of the USGS study, correct.
And you couldn't even begin to have conversation until you had the results of that survey.
I would agree. And I think that some of the sewer efforts that were put forth years before were a little early if this study was not done. And now we're to that study.
Agreed.
I would like to be considered to be on that committee. Being that I think I know a little bit about a lot of things, I don't know a lot about anything. So,
Director Bowden, I commend you for that. Thank you for volunteering to be on the committee. Anyone else?
it's gonna have to be the guy that's not here.
No, I'm not gonna do that to Michael.
So it sounds like we're in agreement to form an ad hoc committee, so we're
Right.
looking for a recommendation for the two people on the ad hoc committee. Director Bowden has volunteered, so we're looking for a recommendation of the two members.
Should we wait until we ask Director Arthur if maybe he has more enthusiasm for it than anyone else here? I mean, I
Board
have
sees
no
fit.
idea, I've never talked to him.
Well, can I move that we agree on the formation of the ad hoc committee for shared services? The composition of that ad hoc committee will be decided at a later date.
Sounds good.
Does that work?
So, but we need to make a motion that we're in agreement.
I move.
So a second?
Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor, by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that will work for now? All right. Thank you. Item number 3, discussion on project bids for the redundant treated water reservoir and booster pump station. Madam Manager.
Today's discussion item is on the bids of the redundant reservoir and pump station at the fluoride removal plant. Early in 2024, the district negotiated and signed a contract with Albert Webb and Associates for engineering on the project. And in mid-2025, Webb and Associates completed final design, specs, drawings for the project to go out to bid. During the bid talks with Finance Department, staff allocated $2.37 million to construct for the new reservoir and booster station. Attached in the staff report is Webb's engineer estimate of $2.41 million for the engineer estimate. In July of this year, district staff posted the project to construct the finished water reservoir on publicpurchase.com. The mandatory job walk on July 31st, there was only one bid, and it was the Van Dyke Corporation, local contractor. After speaking with attorneys, a job this size would require at least 3 bidders. We were asked to reach out to other contractors in the area and do a second mandatory job walk, which we did. The second mandatory job walk brought 5 more potential bidders. So from the 2 mandatory job walks, we had 6 potential bidders on the project. Usually the district on a job that size needs at least 3 bids. We received 4. After reaching out to the other contractors, final bids for the contract were September 25th at 2 p.m. District staff received those bids anywhere from 145 to 159 that day. That is very typical on a public works job, because after the 159 or 2 o'clock deadline, we do a public reading of the bids for everyone that bid that day to hear the bids in open public. So with that being said, the 4 bids that came in were the Van Dyke Corporation at $3,446,641, Pyramid Building and Engineering at $3,308,690, Canyon Springs Enterprise at $3,968,239, Cora Constructors at $3,633,608. All 4 bids are over the engineer estimate, with the low being 37% and the high being 65%. Today's discussion is to have just an open discussion on where the board of directors see fit to move forward with the project. My first intentions when I see a project come over under engineer estimate is we go back to the drawing board. After speaking with engineers that we're working with on this project, if we go back to the drawing board, this project's going to cost us more, and we're going to shave the job down lower. So today before you is just open discussion on this project. It's not about the 4 bids that came in. It's to see where you guys would like to see us go, and any questions for me on budget. Finance is also here to talk about the project, about our 5-year CIP that we're in the, or rate study that we're in the middle of, and adding the extra from this project into the 5-year rate study. Just all conversations, and if the board has questions on the discussion, I'd be glad to answer, or open discussion.
Okay. What are we gonna do?
I have a basic question. Can you refresh my memory, because I think it came up recently, on what our obligation is to accept the lowest bid and what the variable is between bids that we are allowed to have if we do not accept the lowest bid?
Well, we have to do a deep dive into all the bids. We have to see who their subcontractors are. We have to see their cost sheets. We have to bring them across the board and see where we're at. A frustrating part for us as an organization here is we had one person at the pre-bid, and then the attorney's telling us we at least needed to do our diligence to make sure we had 3 to 4 bids, which the district did do. We pushed back even the original final bid. At some point, whether you guys give direction to move forward with the project, I will come to you guys with a recommendation from the district, and that's us diving into them. We don't necessarily have to take the low bid. There has been some of those contractors on that list that have already worked with us, and the district could be a better fit to work with. But whether there is a parameter, like a set amount or a difference, the district really doesn't have a difference. Do we usually take low bid on a public works project for the betterment of the community? I would say yes, we usually do. That doesn't necessarily mean through us diving into the bid packets that we may see discrepancies where some of those bids won't be existing. So we just really need to take a deep dive if the board sees fit to move forward with the project, that we take a deep dive out of the 4 bidders and see who's going to be best for this district.
Is there any way that we can accomplish any of the forwarding the project on our own, parts of it on our own, in-house?
You have to be very careful because you spec the job out the way it's spec'd out. So any kind of warranties and issues that the district would decide to do or can do, we would want to be careful legally that we don't take a hit that we don't have warranties in place anymore. There are some things with this job, as the job went through final, that we feel like it is a Cadillac job. It was engineered really well, but there were some things we didn't really ask for, that we would hope that the contractors involved would be able to take a look at and say, that's not going to void warranties. We would like to see this eliminated from the contract, and could we look at that as an elimination of a line item?
So what we're bidding out for is the construction for the redundant finished water reserve and the booster station at the fluoride treatment removal plant, correct?
Correct.
And what would be worst case scenario, negative result to the community should this booster station not be built?
Should this booster station not be built, this district is still going to spend some money on a bypass line because we have to get to the finished water reservoir underground. So currently the district has a 200,000 gallon finished water reservoir that is concrete built. The coating is starting to fail and we need to get in there. The bypass was always part of the plan. So just think of a bypass as you're going to put piping above the ground and you're only going to bypass it to get you past the product, and then you're going to throw the bypass out. So we were looking at a $1 million bypass, if not more. When I took over as the GM, I said, why don't we create an asset for us? Why don't we have a finished water reservoir too, just like we have everywhere else? So in the water industry, you usually try to have redundant services. If you're at one of our well houses, there's a booster pump A and there's a booster pump B. If one fails, you can use one every day. If they both are on, you alternate them, right? We would have now a second asset as a finished water reservoir that we would be alternating, and that plant is one of the things that we don't have redundancy for. So if that plant takes a hit in the summer, where we're producing 2.5 million gallons of finished water in the summer, this district can't keep up with its other wells. So in the summer, that plant is super important, that finished water reservoir is good. This finished water reservoir needs a recoat. It needs the braces for the earthquake seismic taken out because there's some failure in the seismic bracing that we see. So it's us thinking of the future of how do you create redundancy. At some point, somebody's going to bring up to this district, when are you going to create the second treatment plant? Because we're pulling so much water out of there. Again, if we had that in mind too, that could be a process where at some point we will build a second plant. So that plant is that important to this district. So that finished water reservoir going down, luckily we have vets here at the district that have been here for 30 years that know how to reverse flow water into a higher zone. So that's the lowest zone in the district where we can pump treated water throughout the whole district. If that zone goes down, because finished water reservoir goes down, we have to go out manually and float in from another zone. We can do it. We've done it many times. It's something you don't want to do on a continual basis, that you're floating off of a different zone. And now you got to think that the treatment plant where we produce the most water is down, and we're not using it at the time that we're reverse flowing water through the pipes. That treatment plant produces 2.5 million gallons a day. It's 56% of the district's water that we can pump through this district. So in a year that we produce 772 million gallons, we're over 400 million just out of the treatment plant. It's a very critical infrastructure for this district.
It's not like B11, you just shut it down.
Well 11, great point. Well 11B's 300 GPM. Chrome started coming up. We don't want to put the scare material out to the public. Shut the well off for right now until we can get into either our Chrome 6 compliance or how we're going to deal with the Chrome 6 issue at well 11B.
So it's our biggest water asset.
What is our biggest water
No,
asset?
it is.
That treatment plant is our biggest water
So
asset, for sure.
If we do this, do we still have to put the bypass in for them to fix it, right? What I'm getting at
Well, we
is,
can isolate it.
is the $1 million gonna be spent no matter what, and then that's not part of it, or if we do?
If we do the project, to my understanding, we'll be able to isolate the existing finished water reservoir and still keep production going.
Yeah, so let's just say you guys approve and say, let's move forward with the project. Finished water reservoir works as it is today. The district staff is still gonna have to go in and do some tie-ins because there's FRP pipe out there, fiberglass pipe, that contractors usually don't mess with. So there'll be days where that plant is down for us to do the tie-ins. After that plant's down and the tie-ins are done and the valves are off, we can run the plant again. Then the contractor's gonna come in, put the reservoir in, put the new booster station in, put the building in for the booster station, and now we can flip A or B. We have finished water going to, that plant would almost never be off. Somebody could say, well, if you have a major issue inside the plant, would the plant be down? Yes, that would be the next thing, is you build redundant services inside the treatment plant. And there already is 6 modules in the treatment plant, or 6 vessels that run in 3 different modules. And so you really have to understand everything behind how that treatment plant runs and lead and lag and what we would have to do if we ever had a major issue inside the treatment plant. That plant's been running for 23 years at 2,100 gallons a minute. It's a really solid water source for any community around here. That would be the best water source they have.
And it's been recognized worldwide.
So the real issue right now is we basically had a bid bust. Our engineering estimate was significantly under what our lowest bid is. And the discussion right now is, do we say all stop, gut it, and redo this? What does that cost us to get new bids?
One of the things that we would have to look at if we said, hey, let's put this out to rebid, one of the things we would do with the engineering is probably have a different engineering firm take a look at it, see where
One that
we
knows the
could.
cost of stuff, maybe?
Say that again?
One that knows the cost of stuff? How are they $1 million off?
Believe it or not, engineer estimates are usually 30 to 60% off. It just depends on, even if they give you the best engineer estimate, you always see the engineer estimate low.
You still have to use that as your basis, their estimate? You can't say, hey, they've messed it up by 30% every time. We're gonna add 30% to this before we say how much money we are gonna spend.
Yeah, not
I
typically.
mean, I don't know how.
You're either gonna figure out if you can do it out of reserves, which this district is in a place to do, or you're gonna go back to the drawing board and figure out how to shave costs, right? So if we go back to the drawing board, get an engineer involved to shave costs, and the project comes back at 3 million, we just shaved cost on a project for a lower project. And that's what the engineers working with us are saying, is like, you go back to the drawing board now, You're already about 350 in engineering services where we're at today.
So we can expect likely to have another redo, where the engineer estimate will be significantly off from what the low bid is. And we're probably gonna end up with 4 bids that are higher than what we are holding right now,
Plus the cost of the second.
and the
engineer.
cost of an engineering study.
And the other thing is I wish the engineer estimate from Webb would have been very similar to the 21-step contract bid that they had a line item, because it was very hard to see where the engineer estimate and the line items overlapped.
Where the variance,
Yeah, where was this difference? But putting them side by side and seeing the bids is just, the contractors have 21 line items they have to tell you how much it cost. If they're all 3 above the engineer estimate, the engineer missed the estimate. And that happens more than we know.
So what if we were to take the money out of our reserves and cover the overage for the bid process and move?
Can I take that? So we find ourselves in an interesting position with this as it relates to the timing of the next district's 5-year rate study, which is currently underway. When we do a 5-year rate study, we look at what rate increases does the district need over the next 5-year period to sustain the proper level of reserves, right? So currently the district has very healthy reserves related to capital projects that, again, this project has been budgeted for quite some time, carry over from prior years. So we have healthy reserves that could absorb a project of this magnitude. And just to further that point is, when we're looking at the 5-year rate study right now, we can build in the higher cost of this project. You know, our budget this year had the lower numbers that Matt presented. When we're looking at, we have to do a financial plan, a 5-year financial plan to support the rate study. We can build in that higher number and have built it in early models. Again, we're still early stages of it, but I can say with the higher number built in, we are still at like reasonable inflation level increases over our next 5-year period and maintaining our existing reserve levels, paying this project at the higher price.
It would seem to me that would make more sense than what Director Leeser brought up about another study, paying for that, right, things go up with new bid proposals. We just have to proceed forward as we are right now, and we pay for it out of reserves.
what
Is there
time,
any estimate of what that rate study would go up, like 4%?
Well, today we're definitely taking a deeper dive into CIP and making sure the 5-year CIP projects are on the list. And we're seeing already some numbers, and until I think these CIP numbers are in, it's not really safe for us to talk maybe stock.
I wouldn't want to give you a percentage
You
right
wouldn't
now
want to be
until.
like the engineers.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Matt and I are meeting Friday with the rate consultants finalizing this, updated CIP plan, and then I think we'd have numbers that we could more comfortably share. And I think the intention would be to bring our rate study options to the board at next month's meeting, I believe. I have to confirm schedule with the rate consultants on Friday, but that would be our intention, and that would include at least 2 scenarios for the board to consider on rates. But to answer your question on that, Director, you take the $1 million in or out, it is going to have an effect, for sure.
Right.
It certainly would. To the magnitude, I don't know.
Our 5-year rate study at 10% per year has, in essence, caught us up to where we basically need to be, or where we should have been.
Correct. We currently are, exceeding our reserve targets in anticipation of large capital that is budgeted this year.
So we might be able to do the things on reserves and still lower the increases going forward and be a win-win for everybody.
Is our reserve maybe somewhat pumped up a little bit because of all the grows that went on that were unanticipated for a few years? Because it was a lot of water usage.
I would say, to my knowledge, not as much in this district. I know in some neighbor agencies that had a much larger effect, but not for 29.
So we're kind of consistent then.
I would agree. I think our reserves have grown over recent years, but it's as a result of projects that hadn't got off
Good
the ground.
accounting.
I like that too. But it's reflected in our budget for this year. We have a very large spend of reserves budgeted in the current fiscal year because of this project that we're discussing today.
So would it be prudent then for us to pay the difference out of reserves and proceed with the
And
bid process?
and add the difference into the 5-year rate study, where we're just making up the difference.
That seems like the least expensive going forward.
So with what we have in hand right now, if we were to go with one of these, when would this project start?
As soon as we award the bid. So if I brought back to you guys in the next board meeting, a recommendation from district staff, the job could start within a month or two after signing contracts. So it's getting the contracts in place and making sure, the big thing on the job currently, there's about a 365 days out on the pumps that we're requesting. I would like to go to whoever's gonna contract this job and say, why can't we look at different pumps? The pumps, to me, in this job were a lot of money that we didn't give alternatives to. There were some things that, in a big job like this, I feel our engineers missed again, that we didn't have certain things, that we were bidding multiple things. They bid really high dollar items, showing us that now these $750,000 pumps is what it's looking to be. If we went to a different company, it could be less money even there. So, and they are 365 days out. So this is why this job is a 400-day job. Not necessarily that the contractor will be on site for 400 days. There are some items that are going to be quite a few months out.
Is it safe to assume it would start shortly after the first of the year?
Just depends on how quick we get a signed contract. But it is safe to say during the holidays, it does slow down.
Yeah.
But again, if one of the contractors gets it, that has a crew available, they probably would want to start. Because it's the time of year where they still, 12 months in the year when you're a contractor.
So, part two. If we said redo, how long does this process take to do and move that date to the right farther out to even start?
And get new bids. Well, a redo is also going to say, will an engineer even accept the specs and bids that we have right now? They may say, hey, I'm going to redo the job at $400,000 or $350,000. So
So how long does this process take to get to where we are with this? How long did it
6
take?
months, 3 months, 8 months?
No, in the staff report, we started engineering contract back in early '24, and we're in mid '24. I expected this job to bid February of '25, and we were still months out. So this, from early '24 to '25 was, let's just call it 18
A
months.
year,
and a
18
half.
months,
We'll
okay.
be back in construction, or we'll be back in engineering for 18 months.
I think we're better off
And the cost.
looking at our mess now and going forward.
And the costs are going to increase. The second engineering study is going to increase the project to the cost. I don't think we should wait.
Yeah, I want to be penny wise, not pound foolish.
Yeah, it's 50%, 6% of our water. What are we gonna say if all of a sudden it fails, because there's already a problem? Boy, way to look ahead.
Now-
I mean, you say $1 million and we're gonna get it back in 5 years, recover it with the rate study, but it's not gonna make our water bills like, well, they're pretty high in a couple of places in the valley. It wouldn't push us anywhere near that, would it? I mean,
No,
I
I'm
know
looking I've been
it's-
looking at regional comps, again, working at other rate studies at neighboring agencies currently, and yeah, 29 is still on the very low end of the regional comparison.
Right.
So any potential increase we'd be looking at, it's not jumping us to the high end or
Yeah, I've
anything
been
like
in
that.
that one.
Certainly,
It's crazy.
it's certainly sub 10%. I can say that number with confidence.
I
What are
think
we at for right now?
10%.
We did the prior rate study was 10% over the 10% each year for a 5-year period.
And we'll be coming out
Highest,
of that.
highest rate increase the district's ever seen the last 5 years.
Right, well, it's going to infrastructure, not something that people might be against, Hey, we're all gonna get big pay raises and,
No. You're right, it's infrastructure. Infrastructure and unfunded mandates.
that's a good
Matt?
one to throw in there.
Well, that's
True.
I know
That's
it is.
definitely unfunded regulations that we're up against every year. Next year, it could be something else.
Chrome 6, unfunded mandates. You gotta do it. You're gonna pay for it.
So right now, let's just say this, I don't know what our water rate is, I don't care, because it's not that high. I know what it is in Joshua Tree, because it's ridiculous. estimate to what 10% would add to it? Can we just have a,
So we're, right now, our rate is $5.24 a unit, that's 748 gallons. Just add a 10% there, 50 cents in the unit price. The smaller meter standbys are 2080. You'd have a 10% there as well, so $2 rate, $2 more there. So you're looking at about a $2.50 if we went to 10%. I'm just throwing a 10%
Yeah, right,
base number,
right,
because if I throw a
right.
5 or 3, I really gotta do the
yeah,
math.
don't anyone say that we're going for that.
And I'm not there either, I'm just trying to show you where we're at today.
Just
So
estimate.
Okay, my water bill was $72,
Right, so you add
10%,
10%.
$7.
$7 more.
It's still an expense, but it's
Yeah.
an expense for something that's almost, what would we do? What happens if that just goes down?
If the treatment plant goes down, our wells will never shut off. Our other wells will never shut off. They will run through TOU. We will get hit with penalties from Edison for running in times that we cannot run. We would take the $25,000 hit, I think is what the fee is, and we would run those wells probably for a full year till we figured out how to get that plant up and running again.
There's a lot to this.
I'm understanding, trying to get it out, so
Yeah,
when we
lot
talk
to it.
about a rate increase, if anybody cares and looks at it and listens, they'll see that it's a good thing. I wouldn't say our hands are tied because it's a good thing. It's something that I said that people that ran this district in the past looked well towards the future. I want to be considered the same way.
Agreed.
I don't want to just charge people money because I want them to get the most efficient thing they can get for the money. And it sounds like we would still be the lower tier in our regional area. And that's kind of important to me.
And one of the big things is we're not a tiered system where the other districts are. So you use 100 units.
Oh, that's right. If I use a
And-
little bit more on that leak that time, it almost, holy cows. that's
Which
right.
will be changing. I mean, the two of the regional agencies are going through rate studies right now, more than likely removing tiers.
Oh, wow.
Just
That's
given
good to know.
recent 218 developments. The other thing I was going to add for you, Director Bowden, as a part of the rate presentation, when the rate consultants do give it, they will give a regional rate comparison, so we can see where 29 falls compared to the neighbors.
I'll bring you my bill.
So Matt, if we choose to move forward with this, does that mean you guys, staff is gonna go through these bids with a fine tooth comb and come back and give us a solid recommendation of what we think?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I feel more comfortable with that.
So what do you need from us?
Maybe just-
Consensus, a vote, what do you need?
Yeah, just a consensus that you guys are willing to move forward and that district staff starts bringing up a recommendation next board meeting.
Any other comments or concerns or questions you have?
I just don't want to, I'm really concerned that a engineering company could be so far off. Could I ask somebody that's experienced in that? Is that customary? Okay.
More recently,
All right.
we've seen a lot.
I'm sorry, Matt, could you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
As
Please.
a general contractor,
You want to take the mic? You want to go to the podium?
Okay.
Sorry.
You just help us out here, Matt. Let us understand it better.
yeah, just as a concern for the engineer's estimates in terms of contracting, over probably the last 3 years, in what Matt referenced, they're probably anywhere from 20 to 30, maybe even 40% lower than what most of the bids have been lately. Every once in a while, you'll get somebody that gets it right on a project, but for the most part, most bids are engineer's estimate. I just don't think they have an understanding of contractors' cost, overhead, stuff like that. They don't see it from that
They don't have
perspective.
salary tables? and-
Yeah, they don't have a private, the private contractor's perspective of things, and so those estimates do come in pretty low.
Refreshing to hear that explanation.
What's that?
Well, it's interesting, because all four of them are in the general realm of the same levels.
Yeah, that's usually.
Which makes me go, well, apparently the industry knows something our engineers didn't.
Exactly.
Somebody's calculating something.
Hey, and they
Matt,
got
thank
paid well to mess that up. Hopefully nobody's here from them, but hope he is, I'm sorry.
So moving forward, or excuse me, Director Woods, you look like you have another question coming, no?
No, I do not have another question coming.
So moving forward, are we pretty much in agreement that we need to move forward?
I am.
I'll make the motion that we move forward with the bids we have now and move to a real consideration and move forward on it. Vice redoing the process.
Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Okay, does that require a all hands vote? No, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, one and all. Okay, I'm glad that's behind us. Item number 4 is the consent calendar. Matters under the consent calendar are be considered routine and will be enacted in a single motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless the board, staff, or public request specific items to be removed for separate discussion and action before the board votes on the motion to adopt. They are the minutes of the regular meeting held on September 24th, 2025, and the current audit list. We have a motion for the consent calendar.
I move to accept the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None. So ordered. Item number 5. There are none because there are no items there. Item 6, manager reports. The first item up is Superintendent Mike Minitry.
Good evening, Board of Directors. The Operation and Maintenance Department performed the following tasks during the month of September 2025. Responded to 80 USAs, 9 leak audits, 62 shutoffs, 772 total completed work orders, exercised 100 valves, replaced 10 customer gate valves. We had 1 mainline leak and installed 1 new service. There were 1,555 past due bills, totaled $11,836 in penalty fees. And would you like me to move on to water quality?
Anybody have any questions of the maintenance superintendent on that report?
Nothing for me.
Since Superintendent Sheldon is not here tonight, Superintendent Minitry is going to take over his responsibility to give his report, so please do, Mike.
Thank you. Water quality bacteria samples. A total of 50 routine bacteria samples were collected at test points for the storage and distribution system during this past month. In addition, 14 special bacteria samples were collected. All routine and special samples indicated absent for call alert. And moving on to water production. For September 2025, the district produced 207 acre feet, which is a 4% decrease compared to 2013. And if the board has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Questions for either of the reports?
Why did we use 2013 as the comparison?
Good.
2013 was a year where
And
that was the baseline, how you had to go from there on. Hey, 2013 is the start of where you're at. One of the benefits we had in 2013 is there was a ton of construction going on. The casino was in place, there was construction going on. We usually see our numbers lower than 2013, but what we report on is against 2013 still. Numbers when we're doing our water loss audits, any kind of audit reporting that goes to the state.
So basically a legislated mandate for a baseline.
Yeah.
Think of
It
it
was
as
a good deal for us.
think of it as a
Timing was everything.
baseline calculations. Any other questions? Okay, next on the agenda is our finance report. Scott?
Good evening, Board of Directors. Included in packets this evening is financial reports through the month of August 2025. All else being equal, that would be around 17% of our target budget year. Just a couple notes on our P&L detail, which would start on page 4 of the packet if you're following along there. Line 8, capital impact fees. These fees charged for new connections to the district, like a capacity type fee. These are trending at 29% of budget. We talked about this in the budget process, but we budget those conservatively. It's kind of an estimate. We don't know how much new development is going to occur. But I can tell you from activity I'm already seeing in September and October as well, we will likely exceed that budget amount again for this year, which again is just another positive windfall for the district. Other line of note, line 30 for treatment wells, labor and benefits, that line is showing at 34%, so about double the target budget for the year. Just to inform the board that while that line for labor for treatment wells is over budget, holistically labor and benefits throughout the different operations department is trending right on track. That's again a function of the new timekeeping system that operations staff and admin staff are using, that we're better capturing where field employees are spending their time. So it's just better allocation between departments. Holistically, we're trending right where we want to be. Last thing I'll note, just under Board of Directors, line 52, direct expenses there, that's jumped up. That's just timing of our annual conference that the board attends. So the rest of the year, travel-related expenses to conferences and such is a lower curve than the start of the year here. With that, happy to answer any questions of the board.
Any questions for our finance director?
None for me.
Dr. Bowden?
Nope.
Well, thank you very much. Last but not least, report from our general manager.
I'll try to be quick. For the month, there's a lot going on. District has 3 new openings and is working on onboarding a new employee. One of the treatment plant guys was promoted to a treatment plant 1 operator, and we also have another guy out in the field that was promoted to a service worker 2. He's in the audience today. So congratulations to Tyler Russell and JQ for the hard work they're putting in and dedication towards the district. District staff is on month 2 being paperless with work orders. So the GIS work order program integration has been in full swing. District staff now takes routes out when they're doing billing working orders. So when we're doing 500 work orders a month, we're not using paper anymore. Everybody has an iPad. They get isolated a route, and it's going very well. Don't get me wrong, there's some shakeups and there's some hiccups, but we're working on getting them kind of where we want them. The one thing with this GIS consultant is he says 29 Palms makes them work. So when there's something we don't like about what we're doing in the field, we bring back a side note and want it fixed within a week, and we're pretty solid on what they're doing for us. So. The rate study is going well. We are bringing the 5-year CIP, and thank you for today approving that extra money because I think the project's too important to let go. So adding the 1.1 million-ish into the budget and coming back with a recommendation next month is really important to this district. I want to thank you as Board of Directors. District staff has kicked off our fiscal year audit, so Edie Payne will be in next week for between October 27th and 30th to start the yearly audit process. We look forward to that always. There are always some kind of deficiencies that we tell them the next year we're better at, and we work our tails off on getting there, especially financially. September 25th, we received the bids for the Redundant Reservoir project. And district staff is going to be putting in the annexation service. So the annexation that happened in the northeast corner of the district is going to go in the next week. So those 40 acres are going to be added. And also the other annexation project for Stockwell Reservoir, the application is starting. So you guys should be starting to see some information on the Stockwell Reservoir resolution. And last and definitely not least, on the 25th of this month, Mike Minitry has been here for 32 years, going on his 33rd year. But with saying that, Rob Shelton in February completed his 30th year and is on his 31st year. So I think those are 2 important numbers when you guys realize that there's 60 years of experience, 63 years of experience sitting at that table. They've made my job a lot easier, and I do appreciate every day that I get to work with him and do the things that we do. So I just wanted to tell Mike, and I know Rob's not here, I just wanted to tell him congratulations, because that's amazing working at a place as long as they have. So with that being said, if the board has any comments or questions, I'd be glad to answer.
How do we clone those 2?
It's a hard process, because those are 2 tough ones to clone.
Yep.
But we're working on it.
Yeah, it took us 30 years to get him where we got him at right now. What the hell?
Questions for our general manager?
Give him Mike a hard time.
Anyone?
None?
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, sir.
And item number 7, future agenda items and staff tasks, director's comments and reports. Director Bowden. Director Woods.
I would just like to comment that I am very impressed with the proactivity within the management of the district. Having been a resident here for 36, 37 years, I'm always concerned about emergencies, about shutdowns, about the people who live here getting the same service that you would get in any other zip code. So I'm very impressed by the proactivity of the planning, because that's why I asked so many questions regarding what would be the worst case scenario if that treatment plant were to go down.
Yeah.
And we cannot have that happen. So I just want to say I appreciate the proactivity.
Thank you for that. Director Leader.
Nothing.
Okay.
Got everything out on the bid review thing?
Yeah, that's going to be a big topic. I have a question about ad hoc committees. Actually, I have several questions about ad hoc committees. Once an ad hoc committee is formed, is it carried on into perpetuity? Is it set for a specific time? How many can we have? Questions such as that. I know that we have one ad hoc committee that is still standing, and that's the one that I'm currently on, the legislative ad hoc committee. Myself and Director Jeannie when she was with us. So we're kind of defunct on that category now. If we need to continue that, then we're going to have to select another member. And if we want to start up any others, we're going to into perpetuity, set for a special time. Can you do some research and get back to us next time about those types of questions? I'm pretty sure we all have those same kinds of questions. You know, if I'm going to be on a committee, how long?
Yeah. So future agenda item, I'm looking at bringing back to you guys a discussion on ad hocs.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. I want to remind the board, and my staff already knows this, but I want to remind the board that next month, the meeting in November and the meeting in December are all moved forward a week. So if you show up on the 4th Wednesday, you're going to be a week late to the meeting, so don't do that. All right, and with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
So.
We are adjourned. Thank you.